guys, today we are talking about a couple of sets from Smashbox for the holiday season. They are the Light It Up collection, so some really bright packaging here. I've got the Light It Up LA Lights palette, contour, blush, and highlight, and then I'll also be talking about the Light It Up 3 palette set, which has eyes, contour, and lips. And the way these palettes are on the outside, this is just a little like sleeve that pulls right off. So you've got this flat, clear top, and that will totally come off altogether. The inner tray that holds the product will come out, so you do end up with a usable kind of hard plastic box there, which I at first thought, gosh, this stuff is way over packaged, and I still kind of feel that way, but at the same time I think that could do pretty well in my like shallow storage type drawers, so both of the palettes are that way. So starting off with the 3 palette set, it's $45. I got both of these palettes, or both of these sets at Ulta, by the way, and this is what it amounts to. It's really a very small amount of product. You get these little palettes, they're very brightly colored. I feel like this is a true sampler type collection for Smashbox because you're getting to try the Photo Op Eyeshadow formula, you're getting their contour products, which are the same quality with one slight difference I noticed in one of these products, but overall same formula as their little contour palette, which I really love. And then you get 6 lip products in this lip palette, and they are all actual lipsticks that you could buy full size from the Be Legendary lipstick line. The bottom 3 are matte, the top 3 are just the standard cream finish. So in your little eye palette, it is the Photo Op Eyeshadow formula. I've talked about loving this shadow formula for years. I feel like it's creamy, smooth, pigmented, really like the way the products blend across the eyes. It's definitely one of my top favorite eyeshadow formulas. And while these pans are small, it is a nice sampling of what they have to offer. The shades you're getting are Vanilla and Totally Nude. Now, Vanilla was in the Masterclass 3 palette, and Totally Nude was in their more recent Lighting Theory palette, just FYI. Those were the only 2 that I found in recent palettes from Smashbox. Then you've got another matte down here with Dark Cocoa. Very, very like nearly black brown. And then up here in the center is Flamingo, it's kind of a shimmery peach, and Russet, your shimmery brown. Down here in the center bottom is Amethyst, which is like a shimmery medium purple, and the sparkle in it is kind of gold tone, so that's rather pretty. I do find the quality of these shadows to be consistent with what I expect from Smashbox, and I did a little demo for you. I put on some eye primer first, and then I went in with the shade called Russet, and I took that back and forth throughout the crease. Even though it has a little shimmer, it kind of makes a nice mid-tone crease color. And then I patted Vanilla on the inner part of my eye, and I also used that as a highlight under the brow. And I went in with my deepest shade, which is Dark Cocoa, and used that in my outer corner and just the outer part of my crease. I also took that shade with a pencil brush just under my lower lash line and blended that in, smudged it out quite a bit, and then used Russet as well on the inner part of my lower lash line. Then as kind of a transition for the look, I pulled in Flamingo right on the border, just warming up the upper edge of my eye look. And then I finished things off with some black liquid liner, some nude liner in the lower inner rim, and I have on some Salon Perfect 615 false lashes. So a very basic look from this palette. Shadow quality overall is really good. Happy with the pigmentation. I've worked with the Photo Op formula quite a bit, and I don't really have any complaints. Honestly, the little eye palette is probably my favorite part of this trio of products in here, because while I love the contour products, absolutely love it. This is what it looks like full size. I love this. It's great to have these 3 matte shades. One is nice and cool, one a little bit warmer. You can easily mix those shades, kind of get your perfect custom contour color, or use them separately. And then the matte creamy color is just dynamite. The only difference I've noticed between that palette and what they're giving you in this collection is that the creamy shade is a little less like buttery in tone. There's a little less yellow in this shade. I don't really mind that, but just, you know, a heads up, that's the only difference I saw. But another big difference is just the size, and that does make it kind of difficult when you're putting in, you know, full-size face brushes into these products, and not everybody's contouring with just a tiny brush that's like that wide. So I found that as I was using this, I even used a smallish contour brush, which is from Sigma, and I was able to get in there okay, but I found I was paying attention to not just stamping it in the product once, but really making sure I got my brush evenly covered so I wasn't going to end up with a streaky look on my cheeks. So they've got good quality product in here in just a format that makes it slightly more difficult to use, I think, because what if I want to use a nice full brush in there with the bronzer like I did in my demo? You know, you've just got to watch it a little bit more if you want that brush evenly coated with product and you don't want to get into one of the things on the other side. And then the light shade, like I said, I think this is a great formula. It's a nice brightening type of powder. I could see some people even using this lightly as an under eye setting type product. It's really smooth, really pigmented, but it doesn't seem chalky on the skin. So I love the formula. I was just, when I saw how tiny it was, I knew it was going to be a bit of an issue for application. And then the last part of this kit is the lip palette, and everything in here is actually a full size or available in a full size single lipstick. So I do think it's nice to have that as a little sampler type thing here. However, if I'm honest with myself, I know that when things come in lip palettes, rarely do they get taken with me places. Like, I know it's just not the easiest, most convenient touch-up type thing as just throwing in a lipstick or lip gloss in my purse. You know, it's just never gonna quite match up. The one brand that I've seen really do a lip product or a lip palette right recently, and I'll probably talk about this in an upcoming video, is Urban Decay. They put out a couple of lip palettes. They enclosed within those lip palettes their own lip brush, and everything was just so nicely put together and well thought out. Here, I realized just a little palette, you know, what really can they do? I don't know if they could have shoved a lip brush in there somewhere, but that alone would have made it, I think, a little more handy for me. Let's go through the shades here. You're getting Cognac up here, which is your most neutral of the bunch, and these, again, the top three are creamy. And then you've got Pretty Social right next to that, which is a soft pink, and then Inspiration, which I'm wearing on my lips mostly today, and that's that creamy hot pink. And on your lower level, these are all three matte finishes. You've got First Time, Jam on It, and Bing. So Bing is a nice bright red. Jam on It, I kind of mixed in with my lip look today a little bit just to add, I don't know, a little bit of depth on the outsides, but the formula is fine, you know. Even the creamy shades aren't like too creamy to where they feel like they're just going on streaky or like there's something that's greasy that's going to just drift outside the lips. So the formula is nice. The color selection, I mean, I feel like you've got three kind of softer shades and then three more bold shades. I just know that for me personally, if they would have put in like miniature lipsticks into this kit instead of a lip palette, I probably would be reaching for those things a lot more and definitely enjoy the portability of those more. So this is kind of tough because it's a good sampling of Smashbox products, but I don't really love the way it's all executed. I mean, the contour products are great. The eyeshadows, really great as well. The lip products, you know, it's a good formula, but you're just not getting a lot of product overall. You have to be really pretty careful with the application on the contour product, and how often am I really going to take this little lip palette with me somewhere? Even though it is a very like compact purse-friendly size, what about the lip brush, and am I really realistically going to use it? For me, like I said, the eye palette's fine. I would have enjoyed this set more if they went with a slightly larger size palette for the contour and then maybe made the lips individual lip products instead of a palette. Make your own decisions. You've seen the information I've been able to provide here, but that's just my take. Now let's talk a little bit about the LA Lights palette. So that, again, is coming in this big kind of boxy format, $39, and this is the palette that you end up with. So pretty streamlined looking palette, actually, and I think the sizes in here are super generous. If you are a fan of matte blushes and you also like your highlights to be pretty much on the muted side, I think you may really enjoy what's happening in this palette, because I find that these blushes are nicely pigmented. They have the intensity that you would expect from like the rich row. Everything in this far row is rich. Rich coral, rich berry, rich bronze. And then you've got true coral, true pink berry, and true flush. And then highlight coral, highlight berry, and highlight gold. You've got a giant mirror up top, which I really enjoy. And I just like the tones. I feel like I could wear every shade in this palette. You know, granted, the rich side I would probably be a little bit more light-handed with, because those are deeper and I think a little more pigmented. But I've really been bouncing around this palette a lot lately, and I do think it's a lot of fun. I mean, you look at the corals. With your rich coral, it's even more like a deep orangey coral. The true coral is like a pinky peach, and then your highlight coral is that shimmery peach. Again, the only products with shimmer in this whole palette is the stuff happening in the highlight row. And then down to the berry row, you know, that rich berry is a nice, rich color that really would stand out on deeper skin tones. The true pink berry is gorgeous, a great everyday color. And then highlight berry is just this soft pink with a little hint of a golden glow in that shade. And then the bottom, now this is referred to as a contour blush and highlight palette. The shade you get in the bottom here is rich bronze. And in terms of the way Smashbox does their whole contour bronzer type idea, it's most similar to that center shade in this palette, which is their bronze shade. So while they call it a contour palette, they're really only giving you the shade labeled bronze, which is really not the shade I would use to contour with most often. And this specific color swatched up against the bronze, the center shade in this palette, this is actually even a little bit warmer still. So I feel like you're just getting one bronzer shade. I wouldn't rely on this necessarily to be a contour and blush palette, and I do think that limits this palette somewhat. Because for the size, if you're thinking about taking this somewhere, toting it around, I'd like to think that it was every cheek product I would possibly need, you know, but I do think it kind of leaves out a true contour that a lot of people would be happy with. Anyway, moving along, you've got True Flush here, which is a gorgeous, more neutral, little bit peachy, but overall the most neutral looking blush of the bunch. And then Highlight Gold is definitely the boldest highlight of these three, but they're still all very subtle. I mean, I only see the coral and the berry as really working for me as like a blush topper. If I decide I want one of these matte blushes to come across a little more glowy, I may just go right over the top with one of these, and it will give it a very softened glow, but it's nothing super bold where I feel like I could put just a little bit of it right on the top of my cheek and have a really noticeable highlight there. They're just so soft. And even the gold is soft too. So I'll show you what I did today. I used the True Pink Berry as my blush, so I just used a standard blush brush with that. Put it exactly where I would normally apply blush. I thought it looked really pretty. And then I used the Highlight Berry, like I said, just kind of over the top to show you how I might add a little more glow on top of one of the matte products. And then with a smaller brush, I used Highlight Gold to go right on top of the cheeks. And as you can see, even though I'm really spotlighting and concentrating that color right there on top of the cheekbone, it's still relatively subtle. So if you're going for bold glam, you know, really reflect the light type of highlighters, that's not really what's in here. So keep that in mind. Also, I feel like the palette is lacking a true contour shade. Not that you couldn't make this work, but given what I know about Smashbox and the different products they've put out for contouring, this is one of their much warmer tones. But I really can't pick apart, you know, the quality of these blushes. They're so pigmented, they're so nice, but yet I don't feel like I've got to watch myself that much, just mainly on the rich coral and the rich berry shades. You're really getting a generous amount of product in the pans, and I think overall this is the kind of palette for people who want some blush variety. You like your matte blushes, and if you do ever use a highlight, you like it to be really on the subtle side. That's the crowd who I think will benefit from this palette most. So those are the things that I've been experimenting with from Smashbox's holiday line. I don't think anything really jumped out to me as being like the perfect gift product or the perfect palette. Smashbox definitely has some quality things out there. Not my favorite things of this holiday season this time around, but good products. If you want to know the best product from Smashbox's line in terms of a really great gift, it's probably their Lighting Theory palette. I already have a full review on this, so I'll link to it below, but this is shadow, blush, cream correctors, cream contours, cream highlights. It's got a buttload of things to experiment with, a fantastic eyeshadow selection in here too, and just a really well-constructed palette. More expensive, no doubt, than the other two sets, but I kind of feel like this is the thing that's got the most going for it. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.